Welcome back, Rage Nation. Got myself Pete here.
That's not really exciting.
You got Senior Dixon.
I don't think that's appropriate.
And you got Monsieur Leopard.
Explorers deserved it. No.
Absolutely.
I was disgusted. I cannot believe they've done this.
Why is wacky? Why is that good? It's just nonsense.
I disagree on that. That's not possible.
We're getting the band back together. We're on a mission. Yeah.
Now we've got a whole new list of things to complain about.
Welcome back, Rage Nation. We are at it again. Got myself Pete here. And got myself Dixon and Brodie with us. We're going to be talking about some of the Asami today with some 10 Thunders. We realized that we don't have as much 10 Thunders content, so we figured we would oblige and make Pete play a new faction, I guess. So welcome on, gents. How we doing?
Good.
We're just dragging you along, Pete, because every single time something cool happens, Pete's like, I gotta play that.
Mm-hmm. And Asami lets you play all the cards. All the cards.
Yeah, I was going to say, Oni's always been one of those ones where I think it's cool. Like, it looks cool and kind of feels cool. And I've always been a little tempted by it, but this might push me over the edge for sure.
Oh, yeah. I personally, I love the fact that it's doing well, even though it's like I think second or third most played keyword in 10 Thunders by like 100 games.
That's impressive.
It's ridiculously fun, and it also has a lot of following.
Yeah. I mean, it's also really interesting that it took about a year and a half for people to realize the absolutely busted combo that exists in the keyword. Like, the model was out for ages, but people weren't playing it, and then they were like, you can proc that every activation. Okay, cool.
So I can actually explain that one. After every nerf and every single miniature game that I've ever seen or played, people just drop the keywords or drop whatever army it is, right? And that, since Asami technically got nerfed because of the summoning nerfs and stuff, people just dropped her, even though that she was still good.
It's more Lady Yume. Like, Lady Yume was released, people were just sort of trying it out, but didn't realize how many times you can proc. What is it?
How many places there are in this insane keyword?
Yeah,
I see what you mean.
Like, and it was.
Oh, I don't know this thing.
Yeah, it's obnoxious.
Huh. So it's like on average like 3 to 4 times?
No, you can proc it probably 8 times a turn, if not more.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, before we get into the tech too much there, make sure that you guys are checking us out. You can do that on all our fun stuff. We got a couple of things that have been going on that's pretty cool with the podcast. We got the YouTube channel, which Dixon and I actually just finished a battle report today, and that'll be coming out soon. It was the old Colette 1 versus Vix 2. So we got to run around the board and try to cause chaos. So we got stuff going out on the channel like that. So like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And then we also got some cool stuff going on in Discord. We generally have people talking, but something I've started doing probably about once, maybe twice a month, is I started kind of doing this fireside chat kind of idea, right? You got the voice channel, and late in the evening, I just open it up and I say, hop on in there if you want to chat. And the last 2 times we did it, I think the 5 or 6 people in there, we chatted pretty much for an hour and a half, 2 hours. It was a pretty good time.
Yeah.
So just a good time to BS, talk about normal stuff, Malifaux stuff. It was kind of weird though, because I think it was like 1:20 here or something in the morning. I was smoking a pipe pretty late, and somebody from, I think it was Spire from Finland, hopped on and was like, yeah, I'm actually waiting to play in this tournament. It's like 9:00 in the morning here. And I was just like, well, I'm going to bed. Good luck with your tournament.
Kickies, friend.
Yeah, I didn't jump on because I was having dinner and then played a game of Malifaux.
Yeah.
Hey, that's always a good excuse. And then finally, if you want to support us directly, you can do that by going to patreon.com/RageQuitWire, where you can support us. You get cool content that other people don't get. We do some bat rep write-ups. We do content that you get early. And then you also get a link to hop on while we're recording. So we usually have 1 or 2 people pop in and just kind of hang out while we're recording, and you get some of the stuff that doesn't make the podcast, which is always fun. And then, we also got an affiliation link. You can go to Give Us Your Money, Please, Thank You, -weird.com/RageQuitWire. And then a little bit of your purchase through Weird will go back to the podcast. And we always appreciate that. So getting into the Asami. So she is kind of the weird summoner. She's got a couple mechanics going on in her keyword.
Yeah.
Mostly summoning keyword. So there's these kind of models that are popping up out of kind of like these voids. The other mechanic that she does a lot of is flicker, right? So you get these flicker tokens on models. They end up giving you, I think, positives to the duel and the damage flip.
It's functionally focus, but it can stack with focus as well.
That is, in my opinion, the disgusting part.
Yeah, it makes it where you can very reliably get to the end of your damage.
Yep.
And I would also say the bad part about that, though, is I think if you have, 3 flicker at the end of your activation, the model dies.
Yeah.
Any activation. If you have 3 flicker at the end of any activation. Yeah.
Oh.
It is super gambling. Like it's
if you do it when you're getting attacked, you could just blow up at the end of that.
Yeah. One thing to note about flicker is it doesn't actually have a limit. So it's one of the problems I see maybe needing to get touched is things like when you have accepted that this model is going to die, I don't care if it survives, you can rack up 6 flicker and you've just functionally gotten like a stupid amount of effective focus for free. And because you have accepted it, it's fine, but your opponent's just gotten hit with so many focused attacks, and it's not really fair. It's one of the parts that I think may get nerfed in the future, but it's also one of the things that makes the list good.
I mean, if ever, I don't think that it's necessary for a nerf yet, but if ever it gets nerfed, make it so that it doesn't stack with focus.
Yeah, I think we just need to cap it. It just needs to be, once you get to 3, you can't actually gain more, because Katashiro are a problem. They're a very, very strong model, and they're made even more powerful by the fact that, you can rack up 6 flicker, make like 4 to 5 attacks that are all focused, and it's a bit much.
Yeah.
The damage track though is only 1, 2, 4.
Yeah.
It's a lot of attacks.
It spikes really quickly. My game last night, against the Alleyway Echo, which has combat finesse, my Katashiro did 8 damage off 2 attacks.
Yes,
feels good.
It's. I was gonna say it's the same problem with like models with flurry. Sometimes spikes happen.
Yep.
That's why the joke that is not really a joke is that I said that 1 in 3 activations with a fully charged flesh construct, it's gonna do more than 10 damage.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, and it happens also with many Oni. The yokai, I see them do that constantly.
Yep. Still haven't summoned any of those.
No, but like it's one of those models that like shockingly.
Oh yeah, anything that can gain flicker will do it occasionally, and if you have all of your models that can do it, you'll do it like once a turn.
Yeah, and the yokai are kind of a weird model too, and we'll definitely talk about them because it's kind of cool though, because you have that flicker mechanic, but then there's a lot of things in the keyword that will either gain a flicker token to get an extra expense, or if you kill a model, you lose flicker tokens. So there's a lot of cool synergy going on with this whole flicker mechanic. I think one version of the master, Asami can take off flicker tokens.
So they both can.
A lot of cool things going on.
They both can. The first one has, at the end of its activation, it can remove a flicker by taking 2 irreducible on herself. Asami 2 can remove them after, I believe, they move, and then they gain shielding.
Yep. And then the totem.
Yeah, the totem
correctly, the totem eats them.
Yep, the totem can eat 1, and the story of Suzaku can also eat 1 with his bonus.
I forgot about the story of Suzaku. He's new, but that's an important thing, because that changes the game a little bit. I played against Suzaku outside of keyword.
Yeah,
the model's really good. It competes with the monkey.
Yeah, it's a good model. It has some issues. It's clearly been designed to be fair, and it's been put into 2 keywords that have a lot of very unfair models. and so its competition is quite steep.
Very true. Very, very true.
So can you, Brodie? So I know Dixon. Like I've actually played, I think this keyword once or twice, and I know Dixon. You've at least played against it, maybe even dabbled with it once or twice. But I wanted your
No.
opinion.
I play like a dozen games with them. I'm
Okay,
not good.
then
I'm not
you
good
can
with
definitely
them.
speak to this then as well.
Yeah.
But how hard do you guys think it is to manage Flickr, or what are some tips maybe you have for people as you're kind of navigating Flickr in this Oni keyword?
I think
Okay.
it's part of it is you just have to accept things. You have to, at the start of activations, go, how much do I value this model taking up space and being annoying? And if you don't, just go nuts and kill a thing and don't care if you die. But sometimes you'll
Okay.
be
So
like, I'll keep it around. And it's just
I
an
was
option.
doing that right then because I was like, I'm average in this keyword. I did not get good at it, but I remember just going,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna kill my own model.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna and just go ham and do like 12 damage to something because the yokai have a natural speed just like the paper demons, but their damage track is slightly better.
Yeah.
And then you have the paper demon, so you have both of them just jump on people and erase models.
Yeah. And like the cheap models, often it will be, you just kill it. You don't care about it. Obsidian Oni, you actually want them to die. And you want them to die to the flicker specifically because you have control over it.
Oh, so good.
Juragoma are kind of the only ones I look at and go, I want to keep this around because it's a 9 health, 5/7 with extended reach, which is just, it's annoying to kill. So I'd
I
prefer
was
my
gonna
opponent
ask you.
to take it down for me.
I was gonna ask you. I started hiring them because I actually enjoyed having them.
Fair. The list I play is incredibly tight. It has modules that it takes in and out to deal with certain issues, but it doesn't have the spare space for hiring one.
Okay.
But they are perfectly good hires. They get hired in McCabe occasionally because McCabe can give them a lightsaber and fast and then fire them up the board. And McCabe 2
and
makes
plus 1 stats.
Yeah, Def 6, Willpower 8's pretty good.
Good deal. So I think what we'll do is we'll start talking about both versions of the masters. We'll get into the totem stuff that you like to summon, hire, and then we'll get into all that out of keyword stuff. So here's what I hear. Now, of course, I don't have a lot of games into the keyword, but I will tell you, I hear that the title doesn't see a lot of play, and you focus mainly on Asami 1. So this is the summoner version of Asami. I mean, so that's the big thing. You can summon all the spooky big Jorgumos back. You can get the little schemers. She's just really, really good. And the thing that I actually like probably the most about her is a couple of things. One, I like that if you start next to her within 3 and you do a charge, you just place.
Yep.
Which we'll find out later turns on Lady Yume.
Yep.
And herself.
But then the other thing that I kind of really like is I don't know how often I use it, but in this gaining ground specifically, I feel like reaching tendrils would get a lot of play in her activation just to move some stuff around, but also possibly get some attacks out of that as well.
It's definitely a sort of turn 3 and onwards. She's too busy turn 1 and 2, but turn 3 and onwards when you might not rely on certain things. It's an amazing action.
This is where we differ because I was using it turn 1 to set up a Manosako to go into the enemy.
Yeah.
What we normally call the Dixon special is just chuck something huge at your opponent turn 1 and have to deal with it.
Hey, are you playing against Dixon? Can you deal with this problem? Go.
I still do that. I just do it with a spider instead.
I was gonna ask you because when I played her, I played her in GG3. I haven't gotten around to play her again in GG4, and I'm working towards all the factions. Insatiable Hunger was game winning on a lot of games, and I can bet that it's gonna be humongous in GG4. Have you seen that yet?
Yeah, it's still amazing. It does work. It does work mostly late game.
And to the listeners, can you tell them what it does?
Yes, so it's her bonus action. It's her only bonus action, which can be a bit sad when it doesn't go off. However, it removes any schemes, scraps, or corpses within 2 of her, and then she heals 2 per marker removed. So she's pretty good at stopping random things. Like Ensnare, if it's not the Ensnare against her, she can charge in, teleporting because of her violation of reality, which is the front card teleport thing. So she can get through models. She can then eat everything and then summon something behind them and continue on with being obnoxious.
It's so gross.
Yeah.
It like I remember it winning because of the Zap. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna eat all the corpses and scheme markers around this area, heal to like 8, and then my opponent would be just like, I didn't know she could do that.
It's like I don't score points and your master's back at full. This is me.
Yeah, this terrible.
Yeah, and so you said that you have a kind of a job for her turn 1. What are you doing with her turn 1 then, Brodie?
Me? So she is going last. She is charging once to proc Lady Yume to make sure that the top card is not a black joker. She then summons a Jorogomo within 3 of herself, the back of its base within 3, and then she Mother's Loves it, which removes 1 of the flicker that it gets from being summoned and gives it a focus. It's pretty meh. She can also summon an Oni if the Oni is better for it, but then you immediately get to go with the summon, either a Jorogomo or a Obsidian Oni, have it charge. When it charges, it gets to place and do essentially a leap instead, and it deletes a thing.
Yeah. Especially if it's a Jorogumo, because I think it has a top end of 6.
Yep, top end of 6. But also, like an Obsidian Oni, it has crit strike, and when it dies, it deals 2 damage to everything within 2, and puts out
That's true.
burning 2 to everything. So, like, depending on the
That
target,
is so true.
they both have their place. Another part of this is, due to the list I build and how I build it, she can pretty reliably just fish out the 13 she needs to summon and a bunch of other severes, and you can force through so much value with flicker, focus, and having a handful of severes.
I mean, she does have Arcane Reservoir.
She also has Arcane Reservoir, which is just nice.
Yeah, because why not?
Like, because for some reason she needed that as well.
Do you guys want to know what I just did?
Oh, what's up?
What's that?
I was just sitting here and I was just daydreaming, right? I was just like, oh man, that sounds fun. And I was like, wait a second. I think I know a guy that has a really cool Asami painted crew that doesn't play anymore. So I was just like, hey dude, it's like, you still got that crew. How much you want for it?
Nice.
Yeah.
Congrats if you get it, because no.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll let y'all know how that turns out.
I don't understand why I love the aesthetics of this crew, but I do. Especially
cool.
Lady Yume.
Yep.
Like Lady Yume and freaking just like the Obsidian Oni and the Tengu.
Yeah.
Yeah, those 3, and it's, I don't know, I just love how they look.
I mean, it's the name of the keyword. They are Japanese Oni. The Japanese, like demons and Oni and whatnot, they're all very funky, very cool, and very different. There's not much mythology around the world that you're like, yes, it's a similar version of this, because there's some very strange creatures in Japanese mythology that just no one else has come up with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they have to be censored. The Tanuki had to be heavily censored for the game.
Oh, yeah. Tanuki
Pete, do you happen... Pete, do you happen to know what Tanuki are in like mythological history?
I just thought they were like Chinese pandas, or raccoons or something.
Oh no, Brodie. So can you please enlighten this man?
Sure. So they're based on an actual creature called a raccoon dog. However, in mythology, they have massive testicles, and they can inflate them and change their size and sleep on them. They can even increase them to the size of like a large building, and you can enter, and it's disrespectful to wear shoes inside of a Tanuki's building.
Is this why the poses of the models are so boisterous and
probably
grand?
But it's also probably why they have to be very censored and not the correct, because correct Tanuki are very strange.
Oh yeah,
fair.
Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. Like the Tengu got toned down because Tengu in folklore for Japanese are like mythically, like it's like saying the dragon.
Yeah.
Like they're powerful.
Yep.
But in our case, they're like tiny 5 or 4 point models.
Yep. And like the Jorogomo are just dried as D&D. Like they didn't do actual Jorogomo.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious how how often you guys find Asami maybe in too much trouble and just getting lit up and killed. Because
Oh,
if you don't have, I was gonna say, because if you don't have something nearby to protect her with protected Oni, I, I I've lit her up before. Like I can't remember what I played with her last time, but I just jumped in and just just smashed her, just killed her.
I think you
Yeah.
killed my one with Shtuk. The problem was that you
Yeah,
gained
that's what
so
that
much
was, yeah.
value early on that, like, if she dies on turn 3 or 4, you're like, oh no, I guess I'll kill you.
the life of a summoner.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dreamer tends to hang around quite a bit.
The Dreamer is made out of like mist and freaking fog. Like it's hard to pin him down.
He is quite difficult to pin down. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are of the opinion of like, yeah, if she gets smoked turn 3 or 4, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, generally speaking. And there's generally other models in her keyword that, or in the list that I play, they're not in keyword, that hold you through to the end of the game and can do some very impressive things by themselves.
Gotcha.
And so once, like, the big scaries are dead on the opponent's side and you've got a bit of distance and you've consolidated, stopped them from scoring once or twice, you don't really need to worry about the fact that she dies, or if everything else dies and she's the only one left, it's like, oh no, she can charge through some terrain and then walk and then interact, and it's fine as a last activation on the game.
The other thing I'll say, Dixon, before you chime in with that is, I did notice she has Emerald Shimmer too, so if somebody obeys your stuff, they can't just stack a bunch of flicker on you, which is nice.
Yep. And so it's on her, and it's when she dies, her totem gets an upgrade that makes her totem quite scary, but also has Emerald Shimmer as well. So your opponent has to do quite a bit to be able to obey them to flicker them out of existence. But, it can be done. It just takes a lot of work.
Yeah. Jack is pretty disgusting when he gets that upgrade, but he's also insignificant, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he's insignificant. I do kind of wish the upgrade got rid of the insignificant.
I wanted to I verified first, but Banying is cheaper than Ototo, but I would say significantly worse for the cost. But people are using Banying as a mobility tool kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he fills that hole. So, are you using him?
Exclusively now. Banying is... He fixes issues that the keyword has more than Ototo. Ototo's tanky and hits hard. The keyword has some tanky stuff and hits really hard already in combat. Banying is quick. He allows you to do some other things, and he's got a reasonably good ranged attack.
And I would like to also, so you can verify, the reason why I mentioned Banying is a popular thing to do with Asami is to summon paper demons alongside whatever she's going to summon, right?
Yep.
And is how efficient is that? Like, how do you guys abuse that?
Quite effectively. So I think we should probably get to, if we want to cover that stuff, I can go through what the list is, because it's very
before we do, is there anything of note with the title?
Not really. The problem is that they designed her to support her keyword without summoning it, and her entire keyword is designed to be summoned. So having a title that makes them slightly tankier and gives them some cool things that they can do, but doesn't change the fact of the entire keyword is made of paper. Like, most of the models are pretty easy to kill when you look at them for their cost.
Yeah, I think you can get surprised by the title because those rift markers can really throw you back if you're not ready for them, because I think they can charge through the rift markers, if I remember right.
Yeah, if they end a move near Asami or a rift marker, they can teleport to another rift marker or Asami, and then they have to remove a rift marker nearby. So if you have a rift marker back, Asami's run forward, you can charge through that and teleport all the way out, which is cool. The problem is, you don't want to pay 9 stones for a Juragomo most of the time, and they're not making them more tanky. Oni are okay, they're slightly tanky, and with shielding they're respectable, but they're still not hard enough to hit, and they don't hit hard enough without blowing themselves up with flicker. So you end up in this weird situation where they've designed a keyword around being summoned and then not allowing you to summon them.
I never got any value out of the bonus section other than, I don't know, a paper demon that I made activate again.
Yeah,
but, I really didn't.
It's fine.
I don't know.
It's
Really? That's it?
yeah, like it's not terrible. Like you're still getting activation control because it's the same as Molly's. You get a reactivate, but they get 3 flicker, which is nice.
Molly doesn't
And
kill her little minions.
yeah, I mean it's more of a schemey thing to be honest. Like you do it to like a yokai. The yokai gets to teleport a bunch of times and go score some points, and that's fine. But it's not good enough. And it's really sad to say it. I think you could maybe build it around hazardous with like Suzaku, up we going models into like Amanozako's hazardous bubble and the rift markers are hazardous. So you can get double proc with hazardous, which is kind of spicy, but it's a bit disappointing. She also has Molly's line of sight thing, but for injured, and it's not a big enough downside to not just do actions over and over again.
Yeah, and looking at the totem, Amanjaku, I mean, I found that he usually dies, but early on he's putting out some concealment for you. He's managing the flicker, maybe getting rid of some condition stuff. So, I mean, it's a solid little totem, right? Nothing wrong with him.
Yeah, nothing wrong with him, but nothing special. He procs more Lady Yume because he's an Oni model, is actually what he is most of the time.
Yeah, so before we get into maybe the specifics of different types of models, let's kind of talk about, I guess, it's almost like a variant now of what people would call the Russian list. Yep. But you want to kind of explain, one, what the list is, and then two, how kind of like it's just why it's really solid, pretty much especially in this GG.
Yeah. So to start with, we'll need to talk about Lady Yume. Lady Yume is the core of the list. She is what makes it so obnoxious. She has an ability called Warp the Veil, which is a 6-inch aura from herself once per activation. After a model is placed within 6 of her, this model may look at the top 2 cards of that model's deck, and you can discard any 5 or lowers non-jokers. So for anyone who plays Magic, it's surveilling 2 every single time you have a model placing. You get to look at the top, you get to chuck away anything that's bad and you don't want, and you get to keep it. You have to keep the order, so you can't rearrange them. But this is a ridiculous amount of knowledge that you gain from the top of your deck. Then spiraling out from there, you take 2 terracottas, because they have, at the end of their activation, they draw a card. Which means whenever you see something you want, you go with the terracotta, they walk, maybe interact, depending on what version you're doing, and then you just grab that card, and you get it. So she can find her summon card incredibly easy for Asami.
Right.
Another thing that it does is Asami herself has, related to seeing more cards, she has the Warp the Veil where you can charge and place. She just does that over and over again, and you don't care about getting the attack because you get to look at 2 cards. It's why Asami often charges on her activation. Her first AP is a charge. You don't care about getting an attack out of it because you get to look at the top, make sure they're not the black, put them back, and then summon, which is really, really strong. It can also save you stones because you might just see the 13 on top and go, I'm going to go with Asami and immediately summon. So that's kind of the core of the list, generally, is 2 terracottas, Yume, and Asami 1 with Amanjaku. And then you take one of the 2 card draw models. So you either take Gwyneth, if you are not playing Banying. If you are playing Banying, I've found Sensei Yu is better. So with Gwyneth, you get to rig the deck 3, look at some cards, which is especially good if you've seen those 2 cards before, and you can go, I want those. And then you start punching your own models with Deja Vu, and then come play at my table, ask your opponent to pick a number, and hope they don't get it. I like to do it at the end because there's no gameplay around it. It's just they should choose the 13, so you don't get a 13 and hope for the best. And she can draw a lot of cards. If you're going for the Banying line of things, then you have Sunless Selves that you can summon with terracottas dropping a scheme. And then you can charge those with Sensei Yu, who has a built-in good for a laugh. And so now you're good for a laughing.
And they can't die, so you just...
Yep. You just
draw cards.
You flip 4 cards, and then you draw 2 and discard 1. And that's what happened. Yep. Which is very good.
I played a version of that, but it was, I want to say it was Sensei guy, the
Sensei
big
Yu.
guy.
Yep.
No, the other one. The as a master I'm talking about, not
Shenlong.
Shenlong. Yep.
Shenlong.
Yep.
Yeah. So he was playing Shenlong 2, and I saw that trick in that list.
Mhm.
Banying and Sensei Yu literally just went on their own little way, summoned a little set, and it did exactly what you described just to get extra cards. I was like, this is bad. I need to separate those two somehow.
Yeah, I've been playing that as well, and it's very good. Another thing about it is Banying is 8, Sensei Yu is 9, which means Sensei Yu can give him fast. And that is very, very good. He's probably one of the best models that you can just straight get fast without having to transfer it to a higher cost model. He is 8 stones, and he is amazing. And the reason to go down the Banying or Ototo, hiring Ototo, is it lets you take Manako Rei, who can summon Katashiro, who are Oni, and they have all the Oni tech. They're also great throwaway models for schemes. They're great throwaway models for just killing a thing and stacking up a bunch of chi. And that kind of fills out the entire list.
I also realized something that I was gonna verify first, but like she can summon two of those stupid in the same turn, right?
Yep, turn 1,
Because
you summon 2.
that happened to me, and I'm like, wait, I didn't even question it at the time, but like now I'm thinking about it, I was like, is that legal?
Yeah, it is. It's one of the few summons that you can actually do it twice in a turn. Another thing is, because you're looking through so many cards, you find her summon card as well. And often you can go with her, summon twice, spend your 2 cards, and then she has a Quality of Fate. If your opponent has more cards than you then draw another card.
Yep.
So that is... The Russian list was originally, you had the Gwyneth, Ototo, Manako, 2 Terracottas, and Lady Yume. Since Banying has come out, it's slightly warped. I've put my effort into slightly warping it. But then also on top of that, you can change the list. The module of either Banying and Ototo, or Banying or Ototo and Manako can be a module, which you can remove and put in, say, Thangyong and Hucksters when you want to be a bit more tanky and you want to score and snare. You can put in the monkey, because the monkey is great. You can put in so many different things into this nodule, and you've still got all the card selection. You still have the amazing summoning with Asami. You just don't get Katashiro with Manako.
Yeah, you guys are spoiled with like amazing 8-point models. Now that I think about it.
Yeah. Well, so one of the design philosophies that they went with Lynn is she has no models above 8. All of her good models are at 8. And so you have those 3 story models. You have the Lone Swordsman, who's amazing. You have Fuhatsu, who's amazing. And they're all 8 costs. So you can just kind of slot them in and out over and over again. And it's very strong.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, turn 1, you're probably summoning 3 models with this list, and you're drawing a bunch of cards, you're filtering a bunch of cards, and it's very efficient. You pretty much should expect probably something to die. If not turn 1, definitely turn 2. There should be a setup.
Yeah, if your opponent has been very standoffish, which is what the list wants. It wants the opponent to maybe slightly overextend with one model, be a little bit back and playing with themselves as well, while you can do all this setup. And there aren't many engines in this game that are left unnerfed that can generate as much value as this list can. So yeah, another kind of spicy thing is with Banying, Terracottas can walk, interact, drop a scheme. You then discard a card to summon your Sunless Self. That is then a model placing near Lady Yume. So you get to look at the top 2 cards, discard any bad one, put it back, and then at the end of the turn for the Terracotta, it draws a card. So it replaces the card, and you can do it very early, but you also get card selection at the same time.
Yeah, very efficient.
Yeah, it is ridiculously efficient. Has some weaknesses, but it is very, very strong.
So we've kind of talked about some of these models that are kind of getting summoned.
Mm-hmm.
I think the important ones, we'll talk about some of the other ones too, but the ones specifically out of this list, let's talk about the Katashiro first, because you're always going to get those on the board, especially if you're bringing Minako Rei. So these guys are very, very good because they have a pseudo leap. They get all this flicker. So, I mean, talk to us what you're kind of doing with these guys and what they're really good at. besides
before
being awful to put together.
before he goes on to more specific details, I love the fact that these guys trigger Yume twice. Because now that you said that you can do it like 8 times, I'm like, holy crap! When you
Well, it's
summon
once
them,
per activation,
When
though.
you
yeah, but
summon
when
them.
you summon them,
Yep.
Yeah.
they count as placing. That's once. Then they activate. They
Oh, yeah.
place again. I was like, how did I not see this?
Yeah. So when you summon 2 of them, you only get the place for 1. So in effect, you get 3 out of them on the first turn. Place effects. So Katashiro, they're throwaway models. You don't really care if they die. You want to get some value out of them when they die. But if they die, you're fine with it. They have Blown by the Wind, which is slightly worse effect than Leap, but it doesn't require a card. It is just, I do a bonus action and I place within 5, which is amazing. The fact that it doesn't require a flip, doesn't require a suit, is great.
And it gives you an attack.
Yep, they also have Made to Kill, so that gives them an attack, which is great. So they can make 3 attacks if they're set up correctly. In Asami 1, you can also, if you're not set up correctly, place into her bubble of 3 inches and then charge. When you charge, you're doing another place, and you can choose that to be your Made to Kill place, and you can generate 2 attacks off the charge. It's the same amount of attacks, but you can be more flexible with it.
Yeah.
So speaking of all of these attacks, they don't have a great attack, but it's an attack that you make a lot with a lot of plus flips. It's a 1/2/4 at stat 5, and it has a trigger on a mask to gain a flicker and attack again. So once you've committed to attacking with these models, you will be gaining flicker on every attack you can get. And if you get on these onslaughts, you're gaining more flicker and gaining more attacks. And you'll often, accidentally hit on the attack, and then you'll be able to just cheat and damage because you've spent flicker. And you'll go, I'll just deal 4 here. And 4's quite a high amount of damage. Or you'll just flip it because you've got plus flips to damage. Because flicker.
It's average high damage, but coming off of a free 5-point piece of crap model, it's like, I hate you so much.
Yeah, like, it's a bad attack. You wouldn't pay for this style of attack, but because it's free and it's got a lot of plus flips, you'll be quite happy with just going, take 4, take 4, take 4.
Well, and I think the models you're going to be jumping into to attack are also models that are fast, maybe not a big hit point box, and if you spike 4 and then hit them one more time, that might kill a scheme runner.
Yep, but also they do just sometimes run into big models and blow them up.
Oh yeah,
like
my favorite experience that I had with one of these is I was attacking a peacekeeper. I don't know if it was against you, Pete, but like I just love take one.
Yep.
Red Joker, take 5. Yeah, it's just like,
and they have Blade Rush, so if they're not charging with Asami's place, they can move through people to deal another damage. So, like, I have had, like, as I said earlier, I had a game last night against a McCabe player, and he had the alleyway echo. He'd sent it in, done a lot of damage. I really didn't like it. And so one of these bounced around the corner, charged through him to get rid of his shielding, and then did 4, and dropped him to 1. And this is a model with combat finesse, so I can't cheat to hit. It is just flipping lots of cards, and some of them will stick.
Would you say that this would be equivalent to a death by 1,000 paper cuts?
Exactly. Except for sometimes the paper cut cuts you in half when it does 4.
Yeah, right.
But also,
that's one of those deep ones that just go really deep into the skin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But another thing about them is they'll move 5 and they place 5. So if that's not what they're doing, they just move 5, place, and then move 5 or scheme, place 5, scheme. So they can go do your schemes for you, which is amazing.
In our game, that's what happened because you couldn't fight in the center. So you quickly switch gears and just had both of your guys just go and do schemes.
Yeah, and I think that was I think that was the Yoko. I was playing Yoko too, and I had the monkey as well. So my Katashiro was like, I'm not winning this fight against Pandora. I guess Ototo and Bill can just punch you hard and see what happens. But the monkey and Katashiro has just scored me 4 points. The monkey scores 4 points most games he's played.
Yeah. The monkey scored most of the VPs, but like the fact that the Katashiro, one of the Katashiros escaped was huge.
I was going to say, I think some also just nice tech to have with this model is the spiritual transference. If you're playing against a crew that just has like a bunch of stacked burning or poison, like in McMorning, you can just end the condition on that model,
Yep.
which is always nice.
Yeah. And you put it on this model, and then it punches someone a couple times and then dies to burning, and you're like, oh no.
Yep.
It also has shrug off.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, you can just get rid of a condition on them. It's like random tech that just sort of exists on this model for some reason.
It's like dispel magic with extra
Yeah.
steps.
Yeah.
So that's probably the summon you're going to see the most, especially with Minako Ray.
Yep.
The summon you're probably going to want the most with Asami is going to be the Joragumo. So
Yep.
walk us through Brodie, and then Dixon, share some of your lovely stories, because I know
I mean,
you
I
have
am the
made me and
bad
others cry
player,
with the Joragumo
so
as well.
let me just say my favorite summon is just the Obsidian Oni because it's like a nuclear launch detected kind of moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet. We'll get your nuclear code here in a minute.
So yeah.
Oh, I must have not heard something.
So Joragomo are your most expensive summon. They need a 13 of masks, but because of all this card selection in the list, you'll find it. You'll find a 13 and you'll stone for it, or you'll just find the 13 of mask and be happy about it. This is your I'ma Punch You model. It has a 3/4/6, and it has a trigger on everything but a mask. Weirdly, this crew loves masks just for Asami and then loves everything else for most of the other models. Its triggers are Puncture, so making sure you can hit that 6 quite well. War Eternal, which is if you can cheat the damage flip, you draw a card. So it's amazing, especially when you have Flicker and Focus. You're actually really likely to be able to cheat for the damage, and if you flip a weak on that straight, then you're like, oh no, here's a severe, I draw a card, which is amazing. Or Delay, which is, good control after smacking someone for 6 damage. So often what will happen is you end up with 1 flicker on it after it's been summoned and a focus because of Mother's Love. It gains a flicker at the start of its activation. You send it in, you spend the focus, you hit someone once, maybe get whatever trigger you get. Yeah, you flicker for the second one, you kill them, you get flicker back because when you kill something, you get a flicker back, or you reduce your flicker by 1. And then you have this guy just sort of sitting in your opponent's list. And he's not horrendously difficult to kill, but he's not easy. He's 5'7" with 9 wounds, and his only defensive ability is Extended Reach. So they can't charge him.
Yep.
But if they can get into him with something, he just does dissolve. But he's often the model you want to keep around after it's been summoned because he's pretty good.
Yeah. In McCabe, he usually does about 6 irreducible damage on average.
Yep.
Because Flicker, Puncture, and Focus, all of that stacks together.
Yep, really nicely. This model also
Yeah,
has,
super
again,
gross.
weird tech. It has, until the end phase, target can't heal as a bonus action.
Yeah, Mark of Vengeance.
Which is just really good
That's
tech
so good.
randomly. It was my answer
Oh, yeah.
to Maxine 2 in a game I had for the finals of the MWS. I got carded. My opponent just flipped the best card every time, and all of my models died. But it was my answer. Maxine comes in, I stop it from healing, hit her twice, and kill her. Didn't work. It was a painful game to just watch my opponent flip cards. But yeah, the model's amazing. Also, when he kills, he heals too. Yeah.
Randomly, yeah.
Yeah, just because. He can also, with his other bonus, push Asami back into your line after you've overextended her, which can just be nice when it happens.
Yeah, so kind of just to reiterate real quick for you, T, like we did mention at the beginning that Brodie and Dixon both feel that sometimes you just, with the flicker management, you just are like, yep, this model's going to die. Just spend all the flicker, damn the torpedoes.
Yep.
And then I think a model like the Joragumo is the one you try to balance it a little bit more because obviously you don't just want it to die.
Correct.
But sometimes you
But it has
it's
some
gonna
stuff
die.
on its card to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the 2 models that I love just like maxing out almost immediately because I know they're going to die. It's the Obsidian Oni and the Yokai.
Fair.
And yeah, and the Paper Demons if I'm playing Minako Ray, but I wasn't as advanced as you, so I didn't actually play, I didn't do the rotations with Minako Ray to actually make it work better.
Yeah, Yeah, so the Katashiro and the Oni are the ones I tend to just accept whenever I do it. The Juragoma, I want to keep them around for maybe a turn or two. Like if they don't completely kill it, or like if they drop it to like 2 or 3 and it still has to activate, then you go, well, it's going to die really quickly anyway the next time they go to try and kill it, so you kill it for them. But if it's got 9 health and they have to actually chunk through it, you might as well make them deal 6 or 7 to it, and then you kill it yourself. And then they've put a lot of AP into doing very little.
Yeah, and again, like that, all of that damage plus some damage stacks. I just want to be very clear for everybody listening to this. That 6 damage at the top end, it might as well it's min damage. I mean, it's just that ridiculous.
It is quite often the thing you hit, yeah.
So Dixon, you have a nuclear launch code for the Obsidian Oni, I hear.
Yeah, I guess I must have lagged out. Sorry if that I interrupted you guys.
No, you're
but
good.
yes, the model that I love to summon to just send in is the Obsidian Oni for, I think you've said most of the reasons already. But basically, TLDR, in case you haven't mentioned it, high damage on the melee attack if you get that critical strike, because why not? And when it dies, it blows up for 2 damage and 2 fire to every model within 2 inches. And it goes off if you actually die from the flicker. So it's
also, they just
why
randomly
not?
have Ruthless for some reason.
Also, yeah, I mean, Ruthless is like, man, but the damage.
Well, I was just looking at it, I'm like, why does this have Ruthless? I'm like,
They also have a bonus that just removes all destructible terrain within 4 of them. So, like, I've done things where I've sent him in, accepting that it's going to blow up, and I'm like, I'm going to eat all your shadow markers first and then explode. Which has tilted a Masaki player quite aggressively.
Oh my god, I can just imagine that. Heck, there's games that I played against Trixie.
Yep.
Where they have a whole crap load of pig traps. Oh, I want to play this model again. It's so bad.
Yeah, so this is the model you'll often choose if someone's sent like 2 models together, because you can still just use your rams, hit for min 3, and then explode, and you've done 8 damage to one model and lit them on fire, so 9, because it'll be the last activating model, and then the model next to them has already taken 3 and is on fire. And that's brilliant. They also like hard counter random things. I played into Hamlin, and it was early on Ashes. He was still messing around with how many rats can I get with Benny. And so I sent an Obsidian Oni over his crew, hit a Rat King that he had made once, and then just walked a little bit because the explosion would kill all 3 stolen, the Rat King, deal like damage to 3 other models, and I think kill a rat. It wiped the entire list in half. Just picked up all the models and gone.
Oof.
That's when you're like, all right, let's re-rack this.
That's cue the song.
He continued for like a turn and a half, and it was going well. And then Banyang did Banyan things, and I was okay with it.
Dude, that is so painful. Oh,
yeah,
man.
It was very enjoyable to do. I felt very sorry for him.
Did you?
Yeah, I did feel sorry for his pain, but I enjoyed it.
I mean, there's like 90% of all Hamlin players are not as good. Like, it's a very small community, okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any other models that you guys have found you summon once in a while, or is that pretty much most of the time there?
I wanted to ask Brodie, because, like, I love yokai as a beater, and Tengu I hired back in the beginning. I still think that they're worth hiring, but I obviously haven't played in GG4 with her, so I was going to ask you 2 different questions. Question number 1, how do you feel about the crazy teleporting monkey that is a yokai? And question number 2, do you think that Tengu are worth hiring?
I have not summoned or hired either of them. However,
so the answer is no to both.
However, I have built both of them, so I do see them as options. I've just never needed them. It's often been, but I could summon a spider, or but I could summon an Oni, so I don't ever get there. But they were at least worth building. Like, they're not in my pile of just random things that are unbuildable because they're never going to see the table.
So okay, well then maybe I can help convince you. I guess.
Definitely.
At least the Tengu. The Tengu are just like super speedy, and they have basically efficiency.
Yep.
So they get to
the Tengu out of the two of them are the ones I consider summoning the most. They are the do I go for this scheming play, or do I summon a
I mean, they have Dark Bargain. I mean, Dark Bargain's always pretty good.
It's amazing, yeah. And because it's Dark Bargain, you can tell someone else to do it, and they might not be summoned, so they can actually interact with strategies, and that's really good. So, like, I definitely see their worth. It's just I have a little bit of bloodlust in my heart and want to kill more things, so I kill more things.
Yeah, like a little bit of hate. Yeah. What did we say?
Have you met Brodie?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so the yokai, personally, I haven't been able to actually do it as well, but I have seen, and I played against good yokai players where the monkey just teleports and does heinous crap. So I wonder if you would have tried them and got into that level, but I guess not. I guess you don't think that they're worth it.
I've heard that they're very strong.
Yeah, I was going to say, anytime you gain a flicker token with a yokai, it is able to place 3 inches or something.
3 inches, yeah.
Yes, it's a mini leap.
Yeah. I've heard people playing them and they've played them very well. I've just not had the confidence to try it. Like a player who I really respect and is very, very good at the game has lost to a player playing Asami with 3 yokai. And I was like, that's impressive, and I did not expect it, and I did not expect him to lose to that. But yeah, so like I respect it as a thing. I've just never done it. I'm still trying to get every tiny piece of value out of Banying mostly.
I was going to say I played against Jim, who was playing I think 2 or 3 of these, and it was so frustrating. Like I was playing Sandeep, and I was so pissed off. Like these things put so much pressure on like Banasuva, right? Because I'll give you one interaction that'll kind of like, it'll tell you it all, right? So I had one of these dudes in my back line. So I toss it, 10 inches away, but Jim used a flicker token. So after I tossed him, then he placed 3, which is essentially 4 inches back, and then he just recharged in. So it did nothing. And I was like, okay, great. And you can get to a point where you can just let them die. But then if you do something like you bring the Terracotta Warriors, they can just manifest back into a yokai that you hired earlier in the game or whatever.
For a 9.
Yeah, and it's just, they're very frustrating to pin down, and they are so non-linear that it can be very frustrating. And their damage, ends up hurting a lot. Like, there's just so many attacks coming at you.
It's the same as it's slightly better than the paper guys. That's it.
Speaking of terracottas also have the pocket I can turn into a Jorogomo, which is just very nice. It needs the same as summoning a Jorogomo, but you get one that has no flicker, and it's a not summoned Jorogomo, so it can stand beside a vault and just be there to score points, which is really nice.
I forgot.
It's good.
I forgot who did this to me, but somebody threw an Obsidian Oni at me, and then turned their Terracotta Warrior into that Obsidian Oni, and I was very pissed. I'm pretty sure I lost that game.
I've done a bit of that. I think in the tournament last weekend, I had summoned an Obsidian Oni, sent it after a Cavern Nephilim, dropped it to middling damage, and then I was like, okay, cool, I need to figure out how to kill it because it's scoring points. So I just had a Terracotta walk to just within range of Asami's bubble, turn into a Jorogomo, charge, kill it, and I was like, that was some good value. Didn't need the flicker, just killed it. And it's just a good little trick to have in the pocket. They can also turn into Lady Yume, because Lady Yume has a massive target on her head, and you kind of want a second one.
Okay, so we got kind of our mostly summons there. Let's kind of talk about, I guess, the one henchman, because I did not know that the other henchman actually existed with Oha Guro Bitari.
Betty.
Aguro
Aguro Betari.
Yeah.
Aguro Betari.
I don't know what
But
this model
just call her
does, but
Betty.
I don't know what this model does.
I can tell you because this is the model that kicked my ass at Texas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought that this model was hot garbage, and I think that's
Well,
the reason why I
share.
lost.
Spill the
Yeah.
tea, as the kids say.
I mentioned a bunch of times in the podcast that he killed 10 points of models. Period. That was it. That was
Yeah,
total.
but you didn't tell me
I
about this
killed
model.
I killed 37 points of models, and the reason why I couldn't win, like I got stuck at 5 points, is because Betty escaped because she has diving charge, and she did it right next to the master, and she just kept doing diving charge to just escape from whatever I drop her in, and because she's stat 6, it was hard to like pin her down really. Eventually, I just lost because I wasted so much time trying to catch up to her. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's why. This was on moving the wagon thingy. I forgot. What's
Carved Path.
Cloak and dagger. Cloak and dagger.
no. Carve the path.
Oh,
He said it.
yeah.
It was before. It was
Yeah,
before
this is GG3.
GG. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but let's
I mean,
talk
she
about
is
the
a
more
slippery
sexy
model,
henchmen.
but she's not good.
I'm not. Again, I did not respect this model at all. I thought it was a bad model, and she beat me
Mm,
just by not being able to
It
hold her
almost
down.
sounds like that you just got kited a little bit.
yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
Like her problem is she needs a better attack. She needs an attack that's not a 2-3-5, and she needs a bonus, and then she'd be fine.
So let's talk about Amanazako, because this henchman actually looks legit, if you will.
Pretty good.
Oh, Zakwa is amazing. Zakwa. In fact, I had to start looking into her again after we talked to Lance. Landon. Sorry, Landon Sheehan.
Mhm.
So Brodie, I am shocked that you did not mention her at all in any of the stuff that you said, but I'm pretty sure that you're very well aware that she just hunts down like anything on the table, regardless of.
So she's often in the little module. She is one of the things that you can slot in instead of the Monako Banying.
Okay.
She's just good. Like, I wouldn't say she is busted. She's just perfectly good for 10 stones. She does 3 AP with a min 3, and she's annoying to kill. Perfectly reasonable is how I would put her. So she has a 3-4-5. She has pretty good triggers. Drink blood to heal, delay, and swallow your whole, which is another version of I get to heal. She has a hazardous bubble that doesn't go up very often, and then she has dark bargain, but she has a trigger on her dark bargain to gain a flicker to instead just take any action. So she has 3 AP, and 3 AP models are good.
Yeah. So in the reason I mentioned her is I think Landon said something about chasing down models that are like multiple negatives.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
don't
like
know.
hard to wound.
There you and models that were like in the back. We were talking about Kruligans at this point when I mentioned it. He said, "Yeah, just send Amanozako to her." It's like just slot in Amanozako whenever you have any problems. That's what he said.
Yep, I could see that. Generally, my deal with like multiple negatives like hard to wound, so like Archie or Crawligans or such, is just hit a spider at them and watch them dissolve. I think I did that to you. Your poor Archie died on the top of 2 because a spider was just like, yeah, I'm going to kill that.
That's
Yeah, it
pretty
wasn't
funny.
good. It wasn't good.
Oh, that's pretty funny. But
Yeah,
they
so
don't
I like
have
that model a lot. I
ruthless.
mean, 3-4-5 can heal itself, can give out slow, can just go around and do some work. Bonus action that you can either interact or get a third AP. I'm all about it.
Yeah, she's great.
All right, so let's see here. And then I think the other thing I mainly want to talk about is with models is the story of Suzaku. So is this a model that you're considering being rotated into the whole Oni kind of, Asami type list, or is this going to see play mostly in story? Like, what do you think with it?
I don't think it makes it. It's a perfectly good model. It's weirdly just a mini Keras, but it's not as efficient. The only keyword, the model's very strange. Neither of the keywords that it's in really have that much burning synergy, and it's a I need lots of burning model. I think it has some play in Lin 1, because you can do some funky things with stripping slow off the model that you gain slow with to get an extra action at the start of the turn. And they have lots of schemes out, but in Oni, it's a fast model that has a pretty good attack, but you don't end up having space for it. Like, you would rather take the monkey if you're wanting a fast model that's in the same keyword. Sure, it costs 9 instead of 8, but the monkey's worth like 11 stones by himself, so...
I think I would only consider that if I knew there was like a nasty resist trigger I wanted to work around.
Yep,
so maybe if I was playing
that's
against like Colette or something like that, or
that's
just
reasonable.
a model where it's like I want to get around it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Uh,
My experience playing
Autumn
against this
Nights.
model, yeah, my experience playing against this model has been nothing but positive. This model has been like MVP on like half
It's
the
been
games
solid.
I've
I've played
seen.
against it twice.
Yeah,
Like, it's not a bad model. Like, I'm not saying it's bad. It doesn't beat out like Banying ever. It doesn't beat out Monaco's Summoning Katashiro. If you're wanting a quick model, it doesn't beat out the monkey. It's fine if you take it in addition to some of those things in other lists, but there's not enough.
Well, I'm kind of looking at it, and the only thing I can note that is Oni related on this card is its bonus.
Yep.
Like, there's nothing else that works with Asami's crew directly.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the problem. Like, it doesn't do anything for the keyword, and it's a strange model because the only thing it does really with story is it has well versed. Heated words is okay, and its bonus kind of works with Lin 1. Like, it's a very disjointed model. Like, weirdly, I think it has more play in Mei Feng doing weird burning synergy stuff, and that's not its keyword.
that is so interesting. I did play one of the games that I played was against Mei Fang too.
Yep.
And Susaku was the MVP
Yeah.
in that game as well. But yeah, I mean, removing a flicker token, I guess you don't value her flicker game as much as you value her combo game.
Yeah. It, like,
Okay.
keeping control of flicker isn't too hard. Like, you have Amanjaku, who can remove one, and then you have Asami, who has a 10-inch aura that can remove some. So when you desperately need to not have someone flicker, then it's fine. And you just have to be a little bit more controlled with your play. You don't actually need that much flicker removal. You just need enough that you can kind of float at the right level you need to float at, and then when you're going for it, you don't care.
Interesting. I mean, I did find it to be tankier than I thought it would be.
It's
like shockingly tanky.
It is quite tanky, especially when you can get burning on it. But there's like just the Obsidian Oni, and his aura only affects enemy models for the hazardous burning, so you can't even sit it in an Oni bubble. So like it's just when the Oni explodes that you get burning, but you also take 2 damage. So you've not actually gained anything.
That is fair.
Do you guys see any use for this little weird Kemitachi cat? It's kind of a weird model.
I had a second of temptation before going no, and the problem with it is it's insignificant. If it was significant, then I would replace a terracotta.
It is very, very frustrating that thing is insignificant for no reason.
Like, if it was significant,
like literally,
it's not significant. I don't know what you want me to say.
You put it instead of a terracotta, and then you have every time you summon, you cycle a card. And that is amazing with Banying. It's amazing with Monaco. It's amazing with Asami. But it can't interact, and it doesn't get your engine started. It just sits around and does very little, which is sad.
Yeah. I think there's got to be something that happened in because this is a model that came with the game, with M3E.
Yeah.
And looking at the Dust Devil makes me wonder if something had happened that this model was significant, and then they're like, no, it's too strong. We need to put it as insignificant. Because if you look at Dust Devil, it says that any model that is killed by its Dust Devil hazardous token counts as this model killing it.
Which does nothing.
Like,
it's insignificant.
It does one thing.
Removes the flicker.
The Devour Souls trigger. Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, like
what the
model needs flicker to work. Like, it wants to flicker, so it can like do Dust Devil things. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was actually in second edition
before the
because it was the one of the totems that you could take instead of your normal totem, and it was
Okay.
strange. Yeah,
I gotcha.
but yeah,
That makes sense.
it doesn't work, and it's just the insignificant.
So let's go ahead and get into the Brodie special here and talk about some of these out of keyword selections that you made. We've already talked a little bit about some of them, but maybe you can really hit home some of the ones you've really got to sing with this Oni keyword.
So as mentioned, Monako is a common take. She is purely just, as I've said, she summons and then she's just a fine model. Like, she's not breaking the game at all without the summons. But once you've summoned, she goes off, she moves twice, and then she just hunts down something small and kills it, and it's fine. Scores you some points. So that's most of what she does. We come to then Banying. Banying is he's a model. So he's
crack.
He has a good defensive trigger that is on defense and movement that lets him teleport 6 inches and drop a shadow where he was. He gets chi. Chi is amazing. He actually has the problem of he can't generate himself enough chi. He wants so much chi. When
he can in Monk.
He can in Monk, and it is amazing. Even then, I have found he still doesn't have enough chi. He has a 6-inch bubble of when enemy models are killed, he gets a chi, so he can recycle chi a little bit. But he is the create shadow markers engine to fuel Monako. At the same time, he also has Ninja Vanish. That's a bonus action 6-inch place when you set it up correctly.
Yep.
Which is great. It also drops you can turn a shadow into a scheme. So he can be scheme running while just doing his bonus action. Darkened Chi is quite good. It's a stat 6 versus defense 1, 3, 4 and drops a shadow. But it has a trigger to get +1 damage and give the target staggered and shadow pin, which is really nice. He'll often have fast because of you'll take Sensei U with him, which is where some of his chi disappears to. So one of the really, really fun plays that you can do with him is you have fast, you shoot you teleport to get close enough to someone, you shoot them with Darkened Chi, do 2, 4, 5, you drop a shadow, you discard a card to turn that shadow into a Sunless Self, and then you can charge in another direction to punch people with Illusory Strike, which is a stat 5, but you have chi, so it can be stat 7. Also, Darkened Chi can be stat 8, which is amazing. And then you get to hit someone with 2, 4, 5.
It has 3 incredible triggers.
Yep.
I hated with a passion of 1,000 burning suns the unworthy of her attention, because I did not expect it at all until I got hit. I read the card, like I knew what it was, but it didn't register until it happened to me. I was like, oh crap, this is going to be really bad.
Yep. So unworthy of attention is possibly one of the strongest triggers, except for its limitations. Its limitations are it needs to be it needs to be an enemy model, and it has to be within 3 of a friendly shadow marker, and you get to draw a card and gain a pass token, which is bonkers.
It is.
One of the trigger's limits was it was on terrible models. It was on the Katanaka Sniper and Yamaziko, who are just not good enough to trigger it enough. But on
the gang boss.
And the gang boss. The gang boss is almost maybe fine. Banying's amazing. He sets it up by himself, and he can hit you twice after doing Darkened Chi. So you've taken technically min 2, assuming no spikes. Yep. And if you've got the tomes, he has drawn you 2 cards and gained you 2 pass tokens, which is crazy, and probably given you a scheme off of Ninja Vanish.
You said if you have the tomes, as if he wasn't a henchman.
Yeah, you can trade a Soulstone for a card and a pass token, which is actually a reasonable trade.
It is.
And
not like if you do it 3 times, but like 1 time out of the 3, it's actually like...
It's pretty reasonable. He's also in Asami, who has probably drawn him the tomes that you need, so you might not even need to flip them. And even 11 of tomes might do it, because with Chi, he's stat 7. And stat 7's very high.
Yes.
Well, and
it's like that was the thing that we go. Yes, continue.
I was going to say, and he's producing these little Sunless Selves that just can't die but count as shadow markers, so it makes it easier to set that up.
And I 1000% believe the reason why you need so many chi is because of that. Because like his stats are reasonable before chi.
Yeah, they
So like
have definitely
it's
balanced it around
yeah.
him having chi. Like, I mean, Dark and Chi being stat 8 is very strong. Like,
Oh yeah.
I've used that to when someone's got a combat finesse model. I'm like, this list almost exclusively just punches people in the face. I'll focus, use chi, and be like, here's a stat 8 attack. I'm going to hit you for 5. Please die.
Yeah. That is not a gun.
That is not
But
a gun, yeah.
it is a range attack, but
Yeah.
it's not a gun.
It is only range 6,
That's-
which is quite annoying, but it is an amazing attack.
I mean, the fact that you can do it in melee is huge because you can do it. I think it happened to me. I haven't done this, but I know that I saw it. In melee, shoot with that gun, quote unquote. Then ninja vanish into the thing that you just created.
Mhm.
That is more than 1 inch because a 30 millimeter base is more than 1
Slightly.
inch. And then just book it. And I was like, I just got by some stupid piece of crap model.
Yep. And he sometimes flips a mask when you try and punch him, and he just disappears, and that's very annoying. And probably leaves a sunless self standing next to you. Sure, they're not engaging you, and you can walk through them, but they're just there.
I had not deliver message. I had sweating bullets on
Yep.
Ban Yang, and not on Ban Yang, but I was like, that's my sweating bullets target at the end of this turn. I literally had to just walk up to it and just not do anything because I didn't want it to go somewhere.
Yeah, he's so annoying, and he's really, really efficient. I've been tempted to commit to the next MWS tournament to play exclusively Ban Yang in different keywords, but just only have Ban Yang. Ban Yang
He's always there.
He's always there, lurking, because he's
Yeah.
so good.
And
Okay.
I think I had like a bad take about this model because like all these models were like kind of dropped, and I didn't like want to look at them too closely.
Mhm.
And when we were doing reviews, I was like, "This is off the cuff. I have no freaking idea. I haven't thought about this at all." And I said that I thought that the model was mid. And then I think it was like a week later, people are talking about him, and then eventually I get around to it, and I'm like, "Oh no, this model is really good."
I'm happy with my first take of this is the best model that was released in the Ashes for Thunders. Thunder's got some pretty... they're fine. They're not bad, but they're not busted. Whereas he's like the closest to busted. I wouldn't say he's busted, but he's enabling something that's a bit too powerful in Thunder.
That
It's his
I think it's the
enabling while
enabling
being
part.
good.
Yeah, because he himself is not dangerous until you like put in things like you said, Sensei Yu and Minako and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So is the next out of keyword model that is amazing in Asami Yasunori? Is that the good model?
No. So next I'd probably talk about the two card draw engines that you can choose from. So Sensei Yu is used with Banyang. He's got Laugh Off. He has a built-in good for a laugh. He gives Banyang fast.
You also Lady Yume, we cannot forget about her because you mentioned her in passing, but you.
I will. I'll go back to her after the card draws because she is also more complex than just the aura. The aura is just.
I was saying we didn't talk about any of her actions.
No, we didn't. But yeah, so good for a laugh built in is amazing. Laugh Off is an amazing ability. He has a 6-inch bubble of get chi when damaged. And that's nice. Once per activation, can give Banyang some chi back when he needs it. And then he has a stat 7, 1, 3, 4 that pushes people, which with chi is stat 9, which is a number that exists.
Seems good.
Yeah, pretty good for just pushing people off Raid the Vaults or away from other scoring things. So yeah, he's nice. He draws less cards than the other one, which is Gwyneth. They're both the same cost as well, which is quite nice. And I think we covered most of what Gwyneth is. She's slightly tanky because she has Luck Thief and a trigger that reduces damage.
One of the greatest defensive abilities in the game.
Yeah, my last couple of games with her on the board, they have just flipped amazing and killed her with no effort at all, which has been very tilting.
Oh.
Just didn't miss.
I'm sorry
I've
to hear
cheated like 13s in, and they're like, "Oh yeah, here's an even higher number. Go die." And I'm just like, "Oh, cool."
Dang, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but yeah, so she looks at way more cards. She has Rig the Deck 3, she has Deja Vu, and then she has Hit the Jackpot. And that's most of what she does. Late game, she just sort of runs around and schemes and is a 2 AP model that's slightly bad at scheming, but if she's doing nothing, then you might as well do that.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
back to now Lady Yume, who, is a model. As we said, she has the Warp the Veil, which is doing a massive amount of work. She's terrifying with the defense 6, willpower 5. So she's pretty tanky. She still just dies because your opponent has to kill her. But another thing she has is from 2 worlds. When this model activates, you can place a flicker on a friendly model within 6 with the From Beyond, or remove a card from out of game, which is to work with Dreamer. After doing either, you draw a card. So early game, after you've, say, looked at a couple of cards with your terracottas and that sort of stuff, you can go with her, and now you've got another card draw. I often put it on Amanjaku because he can remove his own flicker. So he just becomes a little bit of a battery of looking at extra cards, removing flicker for drawing cards. Early game, she just focuses because Rows of Teeth really, really likes focus. It's a stat 6, 2/3/6 with Execute, Puncture, and Hole in the World. 3 amazing triggers.
Yes.
She doesn't generate flicker on herself, so it's harder to get to that.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's balanced in the fact that she only has puncture and focus to get that double positive on damage.
Yeah, I would still question if she is balanced. Just Warp the Veil is obnoxiously powerful. You could put that. You could put that on an 8-stone model with 8 wounds and okay defensive stats, and the back of the card completely blank, and you'd be like, okay, cool, I'll take it.
I was just troll grinning through that entire thing. I don't know, like, the listener couldn't tell, but you guys saw my face. I was just like,
oh yeah. So on top of that, she has a stat 7, range 12 against willpower that does 1 damage and injured for some reason.
That is literally why I love playing her. Pete, I've seen her on the table a couple of times. I did not abuse the card draw as much as, like, because I like your like where your head was at, and I need to like get into that level too.
Yeah, so like that's actually the attack that I take most with her. She doesn't often get to take Rows of Teeth attacks. It's actually just, oh no, that thing is actually slightly annoying to kill for my killy models. I'll ping it twice and give it 2 injured. And that makes combat finesse models way easier to kill because now they're defense. Probably 3. I can't think of any defense 6 combat finesse. Oh, the new Bayou first.
Yeah, Echo.
No, the Echo's only 5 base.
Oh, you're talking defense 6. Yeah. Defense 6 willpower 4.
Yeah,
yeah, you're right.
But yeah, so most of them are defense 5. Like Mature's a defense 5. Echo's defense 5, and I think the Vix 2 are defense 5, willpower 6. So you can,
that's correct. Master.
Yeah, the master. They'll probably survive, this. But against, say, Matures, you can just ping them twice, give them 2 injured, and then your random idiots that have a lot of plus flips are really likely to hit. So amazing. Coil around prey, good, but doesn't come up very often. Enemy only. Placed within base contact at stat 3, range 3 versus size. Has Bold Over and Glimpse the Void, which are both good triggers. But it just sort of, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. She also has Consume, so you can just eat your models that have too much flicker, and you're like, I could kill this and get 5 health off this Katashiro after it's activated, but I didn't go too nuts. So it's just a little bit more of an option.
So maybe there's also the caliber, like because you play at the MWS, the level.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to do Torturous twice and then coil people for that trigger for the glimpse.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, because it's effectively a willpower 16 duel, and it was like just gangbusters. It was just working so well.
So most of my games where she is on the board, she doesn't get a chance to make like close ranged attacks. If someone has gone after her, she's probably dead. And it's they have to. It's the way you deal with the crew is you need to be very aggressive and you need to kill Lady Yume quickly. Because she's such a linchpin. So yeah, that's Lady Yume. Very strong model.
We're talking about a lot of these kind of different models, and Ban Yang seems good enough to me where maybe we start seeing in ban formats Monk getting banned instead of Story as much. So do you think Story could see some play in Asami, or do you think that you don't really need some of that mobility?
So I love the monkey. The monkey sees out of keyword play in anywhere I can fit him. To be honest, he's got 7 health, but a demise that gives him 4 more. So he's an 11 health model split between 2 bodies, effectively, that can move 15 inches and drop a scheme. He has extended reach. He's often scoring me 3, 4, 5 points every game he has played, and he's seen play in Asami. I've also played Thang Yong because Thang Yong can protect all of your stuff. He can still also draw cards. When he takes a hit, he places, which means you can then look at 2 cards, discard the bad ones, put them back, and then he's got a better chance of flipping high cards on his def 6.
Every single time he takes the hit, you get to do the surveil.
Yep, which is amazing.
That's crazy.
He's also, you're not playing the Ban Ying combo, you're probably playing Gwyneth. And when you're playing Gwyneth, you need someone to punch. And he's a pretty good punch target because he has a bonus to heal. And she's going to do 1 and then 1. And if he can heal 1, then he's kind of back to full, which is pretty good.
I was going to ask you because the secondary piece of the combo is also Ototo.
Yeah.
As a substitute. So I guess, because there's not other reasons to ban Last Blossom, right?
So there's a very good argument. The correct thing to ban against Asami is Last Blossom because it removes shadow markers. It means you cannot hire any shadow markers in, and that takes Monako summoning Katashiro. You need to bring in an Akaname, which are kind of bad models, to drop scrap. Yeah. And then to summon a Katashiro off a scrap, you need a 12 of tomes instead of a 10. And it makes it incredibly more inefficient. And that's kind of how you have to hit the crew when it comes to banning, is you need to stop them from being as efficient as they are.
Yeah, because if you ban Last Blossom, you don't get a Toto, you don't get Ban Ying, you don't even get, if you really wanted to bring Misaki as a second master. So I think that is a good ban.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good ban if you have that format.
Yep, and it's what I did again.
It'd still be rough.
Is I banned it, and he had to take an Akaname, and it was just way less efficient. And then I was more efficient than him because I was playing Mayfair.
Couldn't you just summon an Akaname, right? You just make that your one summon.
You can, but like it doesn't. It's an annoying order in your summoning and activating order. Like you don't want to go with Asami early. You want to go with her as late as possible to get as many targets for your spider to fling at them.
Is all your other out of keyword picks just 10 Thunders tech picks? You just pick the thing you need in the certain situation?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I'm still convinced that the Suzaku has a place, but
yeah, I could see it. Like personal preference, I could see it. I've tried it once or twice actually, once in each of its keywords, and was not impressed. But I would say it's fine. Like I wouldn't say you have made the list particularly that more worse by hiring that. So personal preference, I think, really.
Okay.
But yeah, out of keyword picks that are in Thunders that are good. Like if Ensnare is in the pool, you might take a Huckster because they do Ensnare by themselves.
I've heard you say when we've been talking about this that, she's good in Raid the Vaults just because there's a lot of placement. You can obviously just kill stuff off with this keyword as well. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of what you're looking at? Is she more wanting to kill, or is there also a lot of scheming in this crew as well?
With how modular it is, it's very dependent. She really Raid's her best because she's got a lot of models that just kind of want to stand around, and so standing next to a Raid is pretty good. But because of her modularity, you can swap in what you need to do something. I found is it Cloak and Dagger? Cloak and Dagger is the one that we've got right now. The moving the markers is pretty good. It's not perfect. You don't tend to score go for an 8 win, but you aim to kill anything that can score and then score where you can. Because Banyang's pretty quick and he can go grab one. Asami can just, instead of Mother's loving her summon, she can pick one up after charging near it, which is pretty good. So those two are pretty good votes. You don't really have enough spare AP. So stuff is not the best for her because you can't interact with all your summons, sadly. And then Plant is where I would swap in to bring in the monkey, because the monkey, again, scores so many points by himself because he can carry two of them. He can go off to the side, score two, and then you just have to come up with some way to score your other two. And if you've got 3 to 4 turns to come up with that, it's actually fine. Like, you're not going to struggle. So, like, stuff is the one I don't like her in. But, if everything's dead, your opponent can't vote. So that's okay. But I've found it actually comes down to the scheme pool. Like, you need to look at the scheme pool and decide how many points can I score off that more than the strat.
And I think she's pretty flexible, because Katashiro can go score like protected or information overload or
Outflank.
a positional one.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't disagree. I'm thinking about it. I do love the glimpse on raids, but I don't know. I want to play this list that you're mentioning first.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely know that it works because I've seen it around. I played against a version of it already. So yeah, I'm gonna say definitely raids just on gut feeling, but I haven't played her in GG4 yet.
Yeah, she's very good at raids. And it's not really that she does anything special. It's just that she kills. She has she could also draws things away from raids, which is nice. But it is mostly that models don't get to survive near her unless they're her.
Well, one of the easy things that I want to do, because I'm thinking ideas when I play, and I want to do a Suzaku teleport right next to her. She's right next to Asami, teleports 8-9 inches, and dunks somebody off of the point as a last activation. Just something as simple as that.
Yep. Yeah, and that's potentially a way you can use Suzaku to get extra value.
So what would you say then is a way to counter Asami? I think the big one you said is try to blow up Lady Yume, but what else are you trying to do to try and mitigate some of this efficiency of the crew?
So I'd say speed, having the ability to get to her quickly. You can't let her set up. You can't let her gain all of her value and just piecewise trade with you, because that's what she wants to do. She wants to go, I'm going to lose this free summon that was 9 stones technically to kill your, even if it's a 7 stone model, because you don't get yours back. And I'm going to send this Katashiro off to go kill that. So if you can stop her from making those trades quickly, it is good. She doesn't particularly like blasts, because she ends up with all of her stuff kind of clustered within 3 of her. And sure, blasts are only 2 inches, but if they're all within 3 of her, then they're all next to each other.
Yeah.
Another thing is, just being able to scalpel out Lady Yume. You can come up with an engineered mathematical way of dealing with her. Either you've drawn the right cards and you can go, I have a focus, I come near her, I deal 5 and then 3 or something like that, where your opponent doesn't get to say anything about it, is very good. Unsurprisingly, Damien would be pretty good at doing that, because he will always have 13s and he will just go, I am within 10 of her, she dies.
And that's Raspy. Recently we talked about Raspy. Raspy can 2-shot Lady Yume.
Yep. Yeah,
that's an actual thing.
Yep. Raspy would be a reasonable way of doing it. There's lots of ways you do it, and a good player will make sure that they have terracottas nearby to protect her. I'm still getting perfect on that one. I screwed it up yesterday and lost models when I probably shouldn't have to, but it happens. Yep.
Yeah. I was going to say the time where I really got Lady Yume kind of out of position and killed her was with Zip. I just basically up we goed and you're kind of trading card for card because she's size 3, but I was able to chuck her into, I can't remember if it was a pit trap or if I just threw her into the middle of my crew, but either way, we ended up getting it done.
Yeah, and that's one of the most important things. And then the opponent has to figure out, how do I continue to get all my value, because now I don't get to see 16 extra cards a turn. Or probably less, because at that point you've probably spread out a little bit and you're not getting as much of it to go off. But she's the linchpin. And once you can get through her, then the list kind of, it has to change. It has to spread out even more and just sort of pick battles where it can. Banying needs to go get points because you need to beat them on points now instead of just killing.
Yeah. Basically, she gives you so much flexibility that losing her and removing that flexibility forces you into bad decisions.
Yeah, or worse decisions. I wouldn't call them necessarily bad to go score points, but it takes you from, I have all of these options and all of this damage that I can, force on my opponent, to I kind of just have to score now. And like, you were going to switch to that anyway on like turns 3, 4, 5, but if you lose those options earlier than that, you're forced to transfer earlier instead of removing a couple more of your opponent's pieces.
Gotcha. She seems like a very fun force multiplayer. Then I need to start playing her more like that.
Oh yeah, she's very, very good. I was even tempted on playing her out of keyword in like Monk, because Monk has a bunch of places as well with leaps and such. It's probably not good, but I'm like, how can I engineer other lists to take advantage of this very obnoxious piece?
That's so funny because it's so true. Oh my god, yeah, you can lead, you can just carry people. Like, it's so stupid.
In theory, you might even be able to do it with May, just ride the rails over and over again, which would be fun.
No! But every turn.
The problem is that May doesn't draw any cards, so it's probably not good enough. You get to see them all and then do nothing with them, which isn't good enough.
Oh.
Well, let's go ahead and let's get some closing thoughts. I don't know. Do you guys think that? And Dixon, I don't know if you can look this up real quick if you want to look up how Oni's been doing in GG4. But
52% win rate, 120 games.
Yep.
She's the third most played keyword, and she's at 52% win rate.
Doesn't surprise me. She's not easy to play.
I just want to point out 120 20 games is 50 more games than some Outcast Masters in the top 10. Like the most played Outcast Master. Just wanted to point that out.
So she's not easy to play, but do you think if you play her well, it's too efficient and good? That's kind of my question.
Possibly. She's definitely the best engine in the game. She just is very, very efficient at doing what she does, and I don't think there's any other engine lists, unless you count like Damien and Dabblers, but I wouldn't really call them an engine. I think they're just a model.
Well, the most played list with a higher win rate, I might say, in 10 Thunders is Shenlong 1.
Yes, Shenlong is possibly the best thing in Thunders, I think. But I think Asami has a higher, is it ceiling? Yeah, you can go much higher than her with her, but on average, it's not as good as Shenlong.
How the turns have tabled.
I just wanted to point out that you were talking about other lists being engines, and I would dare say, without actually knowing, Shenlong's got to be an engine, a chi engine, and card engine.
I would say that Asami feels more like an engine than Shenlong. Shenlong feels more like you just set up Shenlong, you fire him at your opponent, and then you have like 6 models with butterfly jump that are very annoying and get value. Is how I play him often. And I think Shenlong does. You can play him like an engine with Banying and Monaco, and that it's not as good as Asami, but it's pretty damn close. But Shenlong's it's very clear what he should be doing, whereas Asami, I think, has a lot more options.
Yeah, I don't know because it's a good list, but it's kind of like what you said. I do feel like it's susceptible to alphas and kidnaps.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's a solid enough counter to be like, yeah, it's fine. But I know some people hate the list because they're just like, oh, this effing guy.
Yeah, like
Um,
I think the list is fine in the grand scheme of things. I think Flickr is a little bit too good. But any list with Flickr models would be Flickr is too good. I think the list itself is a lot of value and it's a lot of seeing lots of things, but it does have counters, which I think makes it fine.
so I think that's about it. I don't know if you guys have any last closing thoughts on her or anything else you want to share before we wrap this thing up.
I call all my lists Touch and cards because it's funny.
I was talking to some people in the Discord and getting some flack from them because one, they were giving me crap because I don't rename most of my lists. They're just, blah, 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 new list. And then also, apparently, it freaks people out if you bring two of the same minions in a list, but you put one at the top or one at the bottom.
I saw that.
They're like, you monster. Why would you not put the two same named minions together on the list? And I was just like, because I don't care.
I would have to go back and fix it, but that's, I don't think it's actually reasonable to have them together. It's just I like it more.
I almost want to do it purposefully now, just to trigger that type of person. Just in game to be like, oh, you brought two of them. Why are they not next to each other? What kind of madness mindset does Pete have that he can't generate a properly built list?
See, I think now you need to make the name of your list, copy of, and then just psychic damage, and then do that, split them all up, and make it just as painful as possible. Because when you
copy a list,
it'll take the original list. Yeah, the copy of, yeah. I believe Drayson and Maniacal often have lists that are like 3 to 4 copy ofs because they've just gone through so many iterations and overthought everything.
Yep. All right. Well, I think we're going to end it there. I do want to thank you for coming on, Brodie. A lot of good Asami ideas, and we'll see if we see all these little Japanese demons flying around the board now. But until next time, make sure that you guys are flipping cards and flipping tables, and we'll talk to y'all next time.